So I thought I'd go ahead and shoot a quick video. I had some really great responses on the question about the high and the low, and you guys are really starting to really think about some of those songs. And obviously there's some I've heard of, some I haven't. One that people kept putting for the high vocals is Mariah Carey, and it's interesting. She actually so there's um, there's a term called falsetto, and you don't have to, these aren't going to be terms you have to learn. But if you ever hear that term falsetto, another reference to that is called the head voice for singers. And I'm not really a singer or anything, but uh, when you learn about singing, you're supposed to sing kind of from your chest and from uh, build up from there. But when you go up to your head voice, you're kind of singing more nasally, more upper register, and it's to hit those really high notes. And I hear guy singers do it a lot now, and like some of the boy bands, they'll have someone that sings really really high, and it's almost like a false voice, that falsetto thing. But some can do it really well, and it sounds good. Some, it sounds like they're singing in a different voice the whole time they do it. Some can hit those notes without going into their head voice. Now, Mariah Carey's is interesting because she can sing high notes. She has a huge register as far as being able to sing a wide range of notes. But there's a term called like a whistle tone or a whistle note, and that's almost like a bird sound, and it's or a whistle, and that's where that comes from. But I have one I'm going to play. You can hear it. This is her hitting some. She was warming up with her band, and this is what I'm talking about, these whistle notes. So listen real carefully. And so it's almost got like this whistle sound to it. She can hit that far up. And so hers, yeah, her song, if you're trying to hit those notes, there's only a few people that can do that. And really, it's kind of amazing. And then hear how she can go back down and hold those controls. Now, one thing I am going to show you on the piano, and the reason why I want to do this is if you're getting into music and you're starting to want to play or sing songs or figure out how to do some of the stuff we've been talking about, this video kind of helps you know how artists do that. And that last one I showed you of the guy, I really enjoyed him. He used terms, he kind of broke it down, where it's easy to understand. I got more technical at the end, and I didn't really necessarily feel like you need to watch that. But he talks about, he used a term called modulation. And I told you transposing is changing the keys of a song, either going higher or lower. That's if transposing is like if a song's written in C, and I'm going to show this later. Actually, the song's written in D, and I feel like, wow, that's too high for me to sing. I can transpose it, and you move on that chart, of where I went up A flat, or yeah, or A B flat B, and went up C and D. When you're transposing, you're taking those notes, and if you're raising one of them, you're raising all of them the exact same. And I'll show you what that is. But that's more for at the beginning of the song, and you want to sing something either higher or lower and fit it to your voice. Modulation is if you're playing a song and you're playing it in a certain key, and he gave you examples of the song climbing within the song where it brings attention to it. My dad and I, we like to listen to music, and I always joke, we'll say, oh, modulation or key. I call it key change sometimes. I say, oh, key change. It's like you can hear it where they go up. It's usually to go up, to raise the song and kind of make it, like he said, interesting at that moment. So that is modulation, and you are changing the key of the song, and you're raising it most of the time, but it's within the song, and that is still the song. So you can actually, this sounds confusing, but you can actually transpose a modulation. So let me show you on the piano. I'm going to flip the camera around here if I can get it. Actually, I don't know if I'll be able to flip it once I start recording, so I'm just going to have to turn it around now. So this is going to be fun. But let's see if I've got the song here, the piano. Boy, I really didn't think that out. Let's see. Okay, so yeah. So here's this piano again, and I'm going to show you that. So if I'm playing a song in D, and I'm playing that song. Well, this is gonna be backwards, but playing the song in D, and I'm like, boy, the song's too high, and so I take it down to C. Okay, and then I can sing it there. Then every note I would have hit, like if I hit D and then G and then A to sing the song, I lower everything the same amount. So instead of, I lower it to, it's the same song, it's just that whole step lower, to where I'm hitting the same chords, following the same song pattern and the melody, but I've lowered everything. Now modulation, the difference is I'm singing a song and then I just raise up and I go up and I build that song. Well, that's within the song, that's a modulation. So if I'm transposing the song, I still go, and then instead of going up two, I go up. So I still modulate, but it's now transposed. And that's kind of, I know that's a lot of big musical words there, but I want to show you that there's a difference between those two. And so here's an example. I brought up a song that I like to sing. I've sang it a couple times, but it's written in D. And there's another term I'm going to throw at you here, but it's written in D. And so I'm just going to give you an idea. It's like, maybe I didn't love you. Oops, hit the wrong note. I can't see it from there because I'm doing everything backwards. Maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could have. And so it's, that's the verse, but it gets so high in the chorus where it goes, if I made you feel second best, girl, I'm sorry I was blind. And so for me, that's too high. I'm like, I'm really stretching my voice. So instead of playing in D, I take the whole song down to C. And what that does then is I can sing those notes a little bit easier for my voice, but it sounds the same song. So it's, maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could have. Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. That way when I get to the chorus, if I made you feel second best, girl, I'm sorry I was blind. So it's easier for me to sing. And all I did was lower that a step. I lowered that a step, and it made it to where I could sing it more comfortable for my voice. Now, that's transposing a song. I've taken the whole song and lowered every chord down a step so that I could sing it for my voice. Now here's what's crazy. You can take any song and lower or raise it depending on what you need to do and sing it in a key that's comfortable. Now sometimes if you change it so much, like I only went down a step there, sometimes if you go down like 3 or 4 steps, it does start to change the sound of the song a little bit, because it's so drastically different than the original key. But that's rare, and it doesn't necessarily, you can still perform it, just it's going to sound a little bit different. But in something like that, you wouldn't hear the difference in the song. You would just know I'm singing it in a key that's comfortable for me. Because it's, it's only, in fact, so that's the Willie Nelson version. He does it in D. Elvis, I looked at Elvis's, his is all the way up in G. He sings it really high, where it would be really high, and but that's kind of difference in singers. Now, the word I want to give you as far as that helps you kind of understand why you can raise and lower songs and some of that. There's a word called octave, 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 and I'm going to show you again on the piano if I can get this turned around again. An octave here. So here's a C note, okay? And it's down here, it's C is lower, and then up here is the same C note. And this is called an octave. because it's also C. They're both C, but one's an octave higher. And then you could go up to this C and it's even higher. Now, what that matters is, okay, there's songs sometimes, like let's take Mariah Carey. If I go to sing it as a guy and having a lower voice, I could probably sing it in her same key, depending on the song. And you say, well, I thought it was really high. Well, I'm singing an octave lower. So, yes, she's singing it up here, but I'm doing the same song in the same key, but I'm lower. And I'll use Somewhere Over the Rainbow as an example. So if I'm going to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I'll sing it down in this octave. And it's in C, and it's somewhere. And even that's a stretch for me, because that where is still kind of high. Somewhere. She may sing it. This is going to sound silly. It's going to sound like a, this is going to definitely be my falsetto voice, but somewhere. I can't even hit that, even with falsetto. And so she could sing it up here. She could actually probably sing it up, but that shows it's the same song, same key, but you're singing in different octaves. So like there's some, I say like songs that like my sister and I will perform, and it'll be like Sixpence None the Richer was one we like to do a lot. Plum was another band we did a lot. They were girl vocal, female vocals that led, and I could sing them because I would sing an octave lower, but maybe it was too high or too low for my sister because her voice was close to the original, but it may be just slightly different where we need to change the key. And then some, male vocal, you would think, oh, well, that'd be easier for you to sing. Not necessarily. If that singer singing at really high voice, I have to lower it. But, if I can sing that octave lower, then it makes it possible to sing. And so what I'm trying to show and what we're kind of working on here is to know with music, you can play around with that. You can work and fit your vocals. And so you begin to appreciate like artists, what they can do to reach their vocals. And you'll hear, a big show I like to watch was American Idol, and especially in its heyday when it was really popular. And then when Harry Connick Jr. became a judge, I really enjoyed it because like I said, I really like him and know his music and know he knows what he's talking about. But they would tell singers, you need to push yourself a little bit. So raise that up a key, and so that your voice really has to strain, and you want to reach that peak, but yet not strain it to where it sounds flat or something. So you want to reach that highest part of your voice so that it sounds interesting, but yet not go so high that you can't reach the notes and you end up being flat. So as you're kind of listening to music, those things, watch for those things. Say, wow, is that singer singing it really high? Can I hit that maybe in a lower octave, and sing with them, but be lower? And so you begin to realize how artists choose the key of their song and what they can do with it. And if you're getting into music, playing music and singing music, you can adapt songs to your vocal ability. And you can also play around, as you begin to do that and get more comfortable with the chords, you can start playing around and changing some of the song a little bit to really fit your voice and do things interesting in that way. So I wanted to show you that and give you that. And then we're going to be moving into a new subject of music. And so that's going to be starting next week, where we'll get into some new areas and talk about different ways that music is used in other areas. And so, but I kind of wanted to wrap this up and talk about how live performances, and that the guy that talked yesterday, he brought this up. A live performance, a lot of times the singer will lower the key than what they recorded in the studio. Part of that is the time of day that they're performing. I know that sounds funny, but if you're performing in the morning, your voice is not warmed up as much and it's harder to hit higher notes. So a lot of times if a singer's performing on a daytime talk show, they'll lower the key. But I've learned studio work, like I said, being in that studio, they can hit notes, and if they miss it, they can re-record and make a mistake and go back and re-record. Live, you don't have that safety net. If you mess up, you can't go back in the song. So a lot of times artists will lower the song just a little bit to sing it live. So I tell you another one to listen to. If I didn't see anybody list this, but I remember when Rascal Flatts came out. If you know them, a country band, he sings really high. He's got a really high voice for a male lead. If you try to sing in that key as if you've got a lower voice, it's really hard. But you can lower that and maybe sing some of those songs if that's one example of that. So anyway, good responses. Keep them coming on these questions. You guys are doing great, and hopefully you're picking up some stuff from this and kind of realizing some of those things. So thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.